Greetings and welcome to WANA Live, the reading series of the Writers Association of Northern Appalachia. I'm your host, Damian Dressick. This is your other host,
Christina Fasonic. Hello, everybody. How are you? We are here. Obviously, we have a third with us tonight, and this is...
He's our leader.
Yeah, that's right. And this is Matt Welsch, and we are at the wonderful Vagabond Kitchen in downtown Wheeling tonight to celebrate a lot of things, actually.
Why are we here, Christina?
So tonight, we're celebrating your anniversary of opening, right?
Yep, 9 years tonight. We've been open in downtown Wheeling as Vagabond Kitchen, so that's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. Yes, and congratulations on that. I know that means you went through the opening of a business, the pandemic, and you're still here.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Right.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's been smooth sailing the whole time.
And as you can tell, he has a sense of humor. So tonight we are also celebrating a partnership that WANA has with Wheeling Reads, which is a community read here in the city of Wheeling, West Virginia. We have chosen the wonderful book, Heat and Light by Jennifer Haigh.
One and only Jennifer Haigh.
Yes, and if you're listening, Jennifer, hello from Wheeling. And that book, by the way, is about the fracking industry in a small western Pennsylvania town. And she does an amazing job of exploring how different people in different parts of that community respond to fracking and what it has done to the environment and the community and so on. And we thought it would be the perfect book for Wheeling, West Virginia.
So right this very moment, many people in Wheeling, West Virginia are reading Heat and Light.
Yes.
Now, I understand that our resident mixologist has been inspired by the novel Heat and Light, the New York Times bestselling novel Heat and Light.
Yeah,
to concoct.
I was inspired by the book and had my bartender come up with a cocktail on our behalf. We were looking at the Heat and Light Cherry Chipotle Old Fashioned.
Oh my gosh!
Cheers.
This looks amazing. Oh, this is truly epic.
Well, I thought the cherry was very summery, very, very light. And the Chipotle would bring the heat. Those two flavors come together really well. And if you ask me to make a drink, it's probably going to have whiskey in it. So there we go.
Well, I thought it might have moonshine. I didn't know for sure,
So we're having a public event.
Yes.
We're having a public event. I want you guys to come down here and get yourself a Heat and Light to celebrate Wheeling Reads. Bring your books.
Yes.
Public event.
And this drink will be available all summer,
all
right?
Summer.
Just ask for the Heat and Light. And I don't know if you can see it, everybody, but there's a wonderful garnishment on top of this with like a little sun and a cherry and a chipotle.
Chipotle pepper.
No,
this
it's
really
very complex.
good.
It's a nice piece of business.
Thank you. I like the smokiness.
Yeah.
I think that kind of calls to the fossil fuel industry as well, with a little smokiness in the Chipotle.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no doubt. This is very, very good. So please come down. Bring your book and read some afternoon, get some dinner, and have a wonderful Heat and Light cocktail.
Now, Matt, you're just doing a reading for us, are you not?
I have been asked to do a reading,
All right.
So I am a lover of books. I'm an English literature graduate from West Liberty University. I have written some in the past, but this evening I brought a selection that was very apropos for our date, not for the anniversary of the restaurant, but for the anniversary of the great Anthony Bourdain's death.
Yeah.
So are we ready for that now?
Yes, we are going to step off the screen and maybe have a drink.
We're going to take our drinks with us.
All right.
And we'll be back when you're finished.
All right. So I don't know if you all watching are familiar with the book Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. It is a missive of love from Bourdain, at this point, lifelong line cook at Les Halles in Manhattan, among other places. And this was really his love letter to the industry and to the people in the industry. It really resonates with folks that are in the culinary industry. And I was inspired to read a selection from this evening that details his first real experience with food that really got his attention. And I think a lot of us who have cooked professionally have this moment. So allow me to share from you from Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. I'm going to chop up a little bit, and I apologize at any point where my French is horrible. I'll try to gloss over that. And I had my first oyster. Now, this was a truly significant event. I remember it like losing my virginity, and in many ways more fondly. Our neighbor, Monsieur Saint-Jour, the oyster fisherman, invited my family out on his oyster boat. I was enthusiastic. At 6 a.m, we boarded Monsieur Saint-Jour's small wooden vessel with our picnic baskets and our sensible footwear. He was a crusty old bastard, dressed like my uncle in ancient denim coveralls and beret. He had a leathery, tanned, and wind-blown face, hollow cheeks, and the tiny broken blood vessels on nose and cheeks that everyone seemed to have from drinking so much of the local Bordeaux. He hadn't fully briefed his guests on what was involved in these daily travails. We putt-putted out to a buoy marking his underwater oyster park, a fenced-off section of bay bottom, and we sat and sat and sat in the roaring August sun, waiting for the tide to go out. The idea was to float the boat over the stockaded fence walls, then sit there until the boat slowly sank with the water level until it rested on the basin floor. At this point, Monsieur Saint-Jour and his guests presumably would rake the oysters, collect a few good specimens for sale in port, and remove any parasites that might be endangering his crop. There I was, I recall, still about 2 feet of water left to go before the hull of the boat settled on dry ground and we could walk about the park. We'd already polished off the brie and baguettes and down the Evian, and I was still hungry, and characteristically, I said so. Monsieur Saint-Jour, on hearing this, as if challenging his American passengers, inquired in his thick accent if any of us would care to try an oyster. My parents hesitated. I doubt they'd realize they might actually have to eat one of the raw, slimy things we were currently floating over. My little brother recoiled in horror. But I, in the proudest moment of my young life, stood up smartly, grinning with defiance, and volunteered to be the first. And in that unforgettably sweet moment in my personal history, that one moment still more alive for me than so many other firsts that followed, first pussy, first joint, first day in high school, first published book, or any other thing, I attained glory. Monsieur Saint-Jour beckoned me over to the gunwale, where he leaned over, reached down until his head nearly disappeared underwater, and emerged holding a single silt-encrusted oyster. Huge and irregularly shaped in his rough claw-like fist, with a snubby, rust-covered oyster knife, he popped the thing open and handed it to me, everyone watching now. My little brother shrinking away with this glistening, vaguely sexual-looking object, still dripping and nearly alive. I took it in my hand, tilted the shell back in my mouth as instructed by the now beaming Monsieur Saint-Jour, and with one bite and a slurp, wolfed it down. It tasted of seawater, of brine and flesh, and somehow of the future. Everything was different now. Everything. I'd not only survived, I'd enjoyed. This I knew was the magic of which I had until now been only dimly and spitefully aware. I was hooked. My parents' shudders, my little brother's expression of unrestrained revulsion and amazement only reinforced the sense that I had somehow become a man. I had had an adventure, tasted forbidden fruit, and everything that followed in my life, the food, the long and often stupid and self-destructive chase for the next thing, whether it was drugs or sex or some other new sensation, would all stem from this moment. I'd learned something, viscerally, instinctively, spiritually, even in some small precursive way sexually. And there was no turning back. The genie was out of the bottle. My life as a cook and as a chef had begun. Food had power. It could inspire, astonish, shock, excite, delight, and impress. It had the power to please me and others. This was valuable information. Cheers.
Well, thanks a lot, Matt.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope you all enjoyed.
No, that was very cool.
Thank
It
you.
was a great reading.
That was an awesome selection
Yeah.
from a really, really good book. And tell us, I know that you are a big fan of Bourdain, and you were a very big fan of his. what about him inspired you
Well, I remember,
and inspires you still?
yeah, I remember reading this book when I was still a line cook, and it really spoke to me, the passion of food and the way he speaks about it, and it's this guttural sense of reverence that I definitely felt as well. And I was just telling our head chef that in a lot of ways this book may be responsible for the path that my life took, because at the point that I read this, I was only a line cook and I didn't really know where I was going to go with that. And then what Tony went on to do with his life and the stories that he wrote and the places that he did and the way he treated the world it was so inspirational.
And so respectfully, but also reverently in so many ways. I mean, his enjoyment of other people's food and culture and practices and all of those things. And we were talking before the show. He famously had a lot of good things to say about West Virginia, right?
Yes, he did.
So, and he'd said that he'd been all over the world and he had found our place unique.
He did. He talked a lot about how surprised he was. He came to West Virginia with an idea, and I think an idea that a lot of people in the country have. And that idea was, if not completely dispelled, it was certainly nuanced with his time here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's true of all of Appalachia. People think that we're, one thing when we're all many, many things at once.
Absolutely.
So that we, some of us might fit some of those stereotypes and maybe not, or you could have all of that in one person and maybe not, but there's multiple Appalachias. Yep. There's multiple West Virginians and West Virginias. So, yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to add tonight about the drink or about anything else? Or
I'm just happy people are reading. This is great. Heat and Light is an amazing book, and I'm really excited for everyone to read it. I'm excited for people to participate in this program and hopefully come on down here to the kitchen and tell me all about what they thought about the book and how much they love to read.
Yeah, and absolutely pick yourself up one of these amazing Heat and Light cocktails. You will not regret it. It's very delicious.
No, I think.
Shall we drink to Wheeling Reeds?
To Wheeling Reeds.
To Wheeling Reeds.
Heat and Light.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed this special edition of the show, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.